No pressure.
Okay. I thought it was going to be like an. Oh.
All right, people of the internet, thank you for joining us here tonight on KontentionZ. And let me just add a couple people back to the stream. We are live, and we are back for the post show after we had a little debate about abortion. And looks like Brenton did get to join us. Thank you so much for joining us, Brenton.
Welcome back, Brenton.
I love you, Brent.
I love you too, Hellbitch.
I love you too, mate.
Get a room.
All right.
Oh.
Just want to introduce you guys to Diesel from the RHE podcast. He's linked in the description below also, as well as everybody else from the original debate. So everybody is linked in the description. If you liked what you heard earlier, if you like what you're going to hear tonight, please check everybody out. So we were talking about abortion earlier. I think Josh has a question he wants to pose to Javier to get us kicked off. So let's just go ahead and roll with that. I do have some questions for all of you if we get stuck.
Sure. So I think the first question is Javier. Again, this is coming from a European perspective, so you have to bear with me. I'm going to announce at the very beginning that I'm extremely pro-gun. I don't think there should be any gun legislation whatsoever. That includes automatic weapons. So not the. You know how liberals go, you've got an AR-15. That's a fucking automatic weapon. It's an assault rifle. Yeah, no, not that.
Yeah.
But my question is, what happened in Texas recently, which was deplorable by all accounts. What would be your solution to resolve this matter?
I think that one thing we fail to do in this country is to inform people of certain types of behaviors, to get into the psychology behind these mass shooters. Enough people, like even watching the interviews with the kids that went to school with him, there were a lot of red flags there. But nobody understood what they were seeing enough to inform somebody or to get other people involved. We just don't do good at communicating what signs to look for. And I think that has to be a bigger priority in America.
Yeah,
we have to know what...
There's two things I recognize after I spent 2 weeks in America. And of course, I've been there many times before. But the number one thing is there seems to be like this sort of like toxic gun culture. And you must go and get a gun. You must go and get a gun. And you must defend your home. And you must do this. Which is, I think it's the wrong approach. Of course, like... you're entitled to defend your home, and I would even go as far as to say that you're entitled to take a weapon down the street for open carry or something like that. But there is a toxic culture that says you must have this, you must do that, it seems to sort of like going around about. And the second thing I would say as well is we're talking about in the podcast is one of the largest reasons that people actually go, like if you look at Chicago or something like that, one of the biggest reasons why people actually go out and shoot people or even mass shootings is because of poverty. Now, I'm against the Democrat Party. and I'm against their propositions that they say that we're going to bring in more legislation to tackle the gun crisis, because for me that doesn't actually tackle the problem. The problem is a lack of access to healthcare, and of course, what was the other thing? I fucking forgot it. What a fucking div! Lack of access to healthcare, and of course, poverty. Right?
Poverty.
So poverty.
Yeah, less access to education, less access to nutritious
Correct.
food, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if we were to tackle these two things, I can assure you, because I've seen it myself. My head office is actually in Geneva, in Switzerland, which has very lax gun laws. So
let me jump in and say, I think one part that we miss is we focus a lot on poverty and we focus a lot on education. Yes, poverty has a role to play. Education has a role to play. But I also believe what has a bigger role to play is family structure. I do believe that we have broken communities. I'll give an example, and it's very anecdotal, but in my situation in particular, I grew up in poverty. But I committed horrible crimes while I was growing up. But I never did any of that because I was poor. I did it because I grew up in a culture and an environment that encouraged me to do so. I knew a lot of people who did those types of things, and we looked up to those people. We thought they were our heroes. We heard about it in our rap songs and things of that sort. My mom didn't read books to me, and my mom didn't even work. She didn't read books to me while I was a kid. There were certain things that she could have done that would have ensured or helped me in my success that she could have done. She just either didn't want to or just didn't know any better, right?
Right.
And yes, I'm all about curing poverty, and I'm all about trying to help people in bad situations and educating people. Education is a very important thing. But you can throw money and education at something, but if you do not have communities willing to accept it and to double down and use those resources to its most optimal effect, I don't think it's going to be as effective as most people think. We have a war on poverty. We had a war on poverty, and they didn't necessarily get the outcome that they expected because it's much deeper than just resources.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that to a degree. Okay, I agree with that to a degree. But I would also say that the breakup of families, as in, like mother and father separating from one another, is actually it's a consequence of the society that we live in. I'm sure Brent will agree with me here. A lot of blokes will run away because they're scared about the financial implications of getting into such a relationship. Now, if we could actually remove that sort of concern of a financial problem, then we would probably see more stable families. And I can actually turn to Switzerland again, where Switzerland, the moment that you become a father or a mother, and they have very loose gun laws, we're looking at one of the countries in Europe that has the lowest poverty rates in all of Europe. No mass shootings, but they've also got some of the laxest, gun laws in all of Europe, and they have stable family structure. Now, I'm all for a family structure, whether that's like a homosexual marriage or it's a transgender marriage, whatever. I don't care, but they seem to have found a solution where if you actually take these people out of a position where they have to worry about money all the time, you find yourself with stable relationships. And that is, I met Brent 10 years ago.
Wow.
And he's a good mate of mine. Now I look a lot older than I used to when he first met me.
And I still look the same.
I know. Yeah, I know. I'm going to have grey hair before you.
It must be that anarchy over there is good for age.
Yeah. No. Well, to be fair, I've still got the same haircut when he first met me.
I may have something similar. To weigh in on the family structure, and the thing is about America, and I do agree, I don't think it's the guns completely. There is one part of it that I would blame on the guns. It's more the gun industry. If you go and you look after each and every one of these mass shootings since 2011, gun sales have gone through the roof each time. And the gun manufacturers and retailers are perfectly safe from any kind of lawsuits when they give their weapons to someone who is dangerous. So they have the incentive to give weapons, and heck, they even have the incentive to give weapons to somebody who might actually kill someone because, again, sales go through the roof. So I think changing tort law and allowing them to be sued for the actions of people that they arm.
I can't get with you there.
Yeah, no. Actually, I'm gonna agree with you, Javier. I can't get involved with that.
And look, to be fair, right? I don't see the gun manufacturers don't necessarily sell directly to you. What they do is they have gun dealers and federal licensed people who sell the guns for them, right? And they are the ones who give the guns to the people. And sometimes a lot of guns are stolen and used in violence and things of that sort. And there are cases where people go buy firearms and then turn around and do something like we saw in Texas. But the moment you start to sue the manufacturers, what you inherently do is you open them up to litigation, which causes, anytime somebody uses a firearm to commit any act, that person that person's family has the right to go sue the gun manufacturers. Imagine how many people will be suing the gun manufacturers.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
But what you in turn do is you make the gun manufacturer bankrupt, which they won't be able to support their business, and they won't be able to provide guns anymore. And by proxy, you get rid of the Second Amendment.
No. This is exactly why I think we should do it. Because what happens is right now, both the manufacturers and the retailers have the incentive to sell as many guns as possible, and mass shootings result in them selling more guns. So they are incentivized, even though I don't think they're like plotting mass shootings or anything, but they're incentivized to give these weapons to anyone who wants them, even if that person is dangerous. You have to have a financial reason why they need to be careful with who they arm, because that's the only thing they're going to listen to. You got to hit their bottom line, or they're just going to keep doing what makes sense for them and makes money for them and their families, which is sadly.
I agree with that, Brent, but I also think that you're falling into a trap. There was actually a study done by University of Cambridge, if anyone that's listening who doesn't know, it's a university in the United Kingdom, and they were actually looking at, sort of like gun crime that was going on in America. And as I just said, the majority of crime by guns was committed by poverty. Yeah, right. So if we were actually capable of addressing, I will always. I've opposed the gun bans in the UK. I own a gun myself. It's in the other room. It's a G36. It's a 22 caliber. So I'm all for self-defense. I've always opposed gun legislation in the UK. I've been very vocal about it. I'm not very popular because of it.
I can imagine. But Brenton, let me ask you, Brenton, and Diesel, you can weigh in on this. I don't know necessarily what your position is on this, but yeah, if I went to the store and I bought a hammer and then I went and bashed some people's brains in with a hammer, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't argue that the hammer manufacturer should have to pay a penalty or be sued.
It depends on the actual circumstances of you buying the hammer, and if negligence on the part of the person selling it can be assigned. So say you walk into the store and you buy a hammer and you're like, where's the biggest hammer that I can get? Because I'm going to smash some motherfucker's head in. If they then sell you the hammer, yeah.
Okay, that I would agree with you there. That would definitely be some liability on their part. I definitely agree there.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Diesel. I know Diesel. You want to jump in?
Yeah, I'll jump in. First of all, this is a really complex issue, and I don't think we're going to really be able to solve anything in one podcast, 30-minute session. But I don't know. I live in South Korea, so I'm American. I had about 10 of my friends murdered from guns, and
fucking hell.
And I live. What was that?
I said, fucking hell, man. 10 friends.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Mother 3, man. Some of it involved drugs, but she shot point blank in the face 3 times. Just
no offense, Diesel. You kind of ruined my joke there. I was about to make a joke that you were in Breaking Bad, but now you're talking about drugs and killing people, and I can't make that joke anymore.
Right. Well, anyway, I live here, and so it is like there's no guns here. You could walk around at 4:00 in the morning and worry about getting mugged or gangs or drugs, violence like that. So there's a societal issue. But the problem is with America, there's so many guns. Getting rid of them is not really like a reasonable option.
Yeah. There's more
Correct.
guns
Kind
than
of in a
people.
catch-
We have 300,000 Americans and over
400
400
million.
guns. Yeah.
We have 400 million, over 400 million
Yeah,
guns.
but even
Oh, I'm
even
sorry,
then,
400 million. Sorry.
the legislation
Dyslexic.
doesn't work, and I've said this many times. So in 1980, I think it was 1982, there was the Hungerford massacre in the UK. Hungerford is a small market town. It's around about 30,000 people, and this is at the time that you could go out, similar to what you have at Walmart, and buy yourself a semi-automatic rifle and a sidearm or something like that. So that's exactly what Michael Ryan did. He bought himself a semi-automatic rifle. He bought himself a sidearm, and he went around and massacred the entire town. Well, not the entire town. Clearly, he didn't kill 30,000 people, but he was going around killing a lot of people. Gun legislation comes in. 10 years later, we have Dunblane, which was a school shooting. It was one of the first of its kind in the UK, where a guy went in with a shotgun and a sidearm again. More legislation comes in. 10 years later again, we have Cumbria. But this time, there was no excuse. We had all this legislation, all these rules, but he still went out and committed a mass murder. So my position is very clear. I do not think that simply because you could pick up a pen and put it to paper that you solve the issue. If you say, and codify it into law, that it's illegal, let's just say hypothetically in America, that you can't own a semi-automatic weapon, do you seriously think that that would stop mass shootings in America? I do not think so.
A criminal is already a criminal because they're breaking
Correct.
the law, right?
Well, if you look at France, so we had the Bataclan attack. The Bataclan attack. France has some of the strictest laws in all of Europe in terms of guns, but those guys still managed to walk into the Bataclan with AK-47s because there's a black market underneath. So if you continue to legislate and actually not address the issues, what tends to happen is people go to the black market. It's the same thing with drugs, right? So I've always been against the drug law. Drug war. If you look at the drug war, what happens is they sort of legislate and they said nobody can have cocaine or ecstasy or something like that. What happens? They go onto a side street and they get their cocaine and stuff like that. So clearly it didn't work, right? And it would be the exact same problem with guns. So if you were to say in America that you can't own an AR-15 anymore, then they would go to the black market and they would still commit the mass terrorism that they are doing.
Yeah, here's the thing. I really think the people on both sides, except for a few exceptions, but I really take liberals or anybody who's like, we need more restrictions, I take them as having good intentions. I don't see them as just like nefarious, like evil devils are trying to take my guns. But okay, I agree. I don't want mass shootings to happen. Something has to be done, right? I only ask that whatever needs to be done, we start from reasonable positions. And sometimes when I hear like, we're going to take the assault weapons and stuff like that, it's like, okay, cool. But what you're actually saying is handguns are the mostly used firearms when it comes to violent gun deaths and shootings. If you take the AR-15, it would only make sense for you to take the handgun. I mean, so we're starting from a position to most gun people who are lovers of guns are already thinking this is not a good place to start. So I'm just asking everybody, especially if you're in a position of power, bring in the gun nuts and the people who are very pro-gun, and let's have a sit down and let's hear each other out and figure out why we think what we think and what we think the solutions are, and let's make some compromises, let's wiggle it, and let's try some stuff that will actually work.
Exactly what we're doing in the abortion argument, and I'm sure that Brent
we were actually
agree.
having a real conversation, which is
we
rare
had a
on
real
modern
conversation,
day
a big tent conversation, where we sat down and we discussed the issue. We said the issue was this: how do we go about resolving it? And and this is what I look at in America. Like you look at the Democrats and they say, well, simply we'll just put a gun ban or something like that. But that doesn't really solve the issue of why these things happen. And that's why I personally, this is going to shock you, Javier, and probably Diesel, because you've got the bald head. You look like you're from fucking Breaking Bad. But
you're not American. You sound like you're, apart from the accent, you are thinking like an American man. The
Hey
action
man,
goes
I
on.
watch him. I've got HBO on the telly, so I see. So I watch all your shows all the time. You know what I mean? But like, oh fuck it, I've lost my train of thought there. Hang on, give
But
me 2 seconds.
you were
Well,
saying
Yeah,
that.
good.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
well,
Brent.
he's getting that in. So I have a couple of ideas, and one of them people will probably like a lot, and one of them you won't like a lot. So I'm going to go in with the one that you won't like. But I actually think this one is possibly some. If we were to use legislation, I think this would probably be the best way to do it. Keep all guns legal. Anything you want, you can get it. But here's what you do: add a tiered system. If the more dangerous the weapon is, the more bureaucratic hoops you got to jump through.
No, I disagree.
I'm
No,
telling.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to explain
I'm sorry,
why.
Brent. No, Brent. I'm going to come back on you straight away and that you know this. You know what happened in California.
Yeah.
Right. So in California, when Reagan was governor, he brought in the exact kind of legislation, and it targeted people of color, those who were poor.
Right, but that's because it was Ronald Reagan
only,
doing it.
Only the rich. Only the rich could have these weapons, and I simply disagree with that.
So
I think
again, I'm not talking about
people
money
of color,
here. Yeah, I'm not talking about money here. I'm talking about paperwork. So, for instance, let's say, and there's a specific reason behind this. If you look at these mass shooters, these people are, essentially doing murder-suicide in a really big way. The Chan guy, the Tree of Life.
You're saying
shooter.
it's impulsive. It's very impulsive.
It's impulsive, and most of these people, almost all of them, except for one or two, I think, like they couldn't even graduate high school. So you've got these people, and they are going to go and try to get a gun. So if you make it more difficult to get the more dangerous one simply by, like, okay, let's say you go to Walmart, you ask for a 22. Here you go, $200. There's your 22. You go to Walmart, you ask for an AR-15. Okay, fill out this form 25C in triplicate. Then wait, a week until we send a letter in the mail. Take it. Do not return that letter. Go online, follow this barcode. Fill out this thing. Initial, don't sign. Then print it out and take it to this woman that works between 2 and 3, only the third Thursday of every month. If you do this, I'm exaggerating a little bit there to make the point, but if you do this, what's going to happen is we can't stop mass shooters because they come out of nowhere. We don't know who's going to lose their shit unless somebody notices it ahead of time. So, but if you make it harder to get the more dangerous weapons, just in a paperwork way, not in a money sort of way, I don't think we should make it more. We shouldn't, for instance, up the taxes on them. What will happen is everyone who is responsible and really needs that gun for whatever reason can still get it. But the people that are going to go out and shoot everybody, they're going to go with what's easier, and they will pick a weapon that is less effective. And as a result,
they're
going to be smaller body.
Let me jump in real quick and say, I can hear in the back of my mind right now, I know women who will be screaming, no, right? Because there are women in abusive relationships and sometimes they've gone to the cops multiple times getting restraining orders out on this person is stalking them or whatever. At any given time they can lose their life. And I personally know one woman who's been through this situation, and sometimes a woman, especially being smaller in stature on average than a man and an aggressor, they want to get their hands on the most reliable weapon they can in the shortest amount of time in case that guy decides to act on them.
Yeah.
And that will be.
I'll also say an AR-15 would not be the weapon to use against a domestic abuser. You would need a pistol for that.
Have you shot an AR-15?
Yeah. I have not shot an AR-15. I have shot an AK-47.
Okay.
No,
that's because you're a fucking bellend. Who fucking shoots?
I had a roommate in college that was this insane Polish cocaine dealer, and he had an AK. He actually fired it off in the
mate, it's
college.
a shit rifle. I am so sick and tired of people saying, oh, it's so good. You can fucking throw it in the mud and it will keep working. Why the fuck would I throw the fucking thing in the mud in the first place?
I think what we should do...
It's going to be shouldered, right? Yeah. So I'm going to be shooting.
Yeah.
A G36 is way more superior.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Well, however it's going to go. My point is I have fired quite a few guns before. I don't own any right now. Only reason I don't is my wife.
Some anarchist you are.
Yeah. Well,
I won't tell y'all how many I own.
Tolstoy, motherfucker.
Well, I'll say this. I think that what we need to do is, because we have the Second Amendment, I think we should really dedicate a lot of time and energy in educating the public about firearms. People should know exactly how to store a firearm, how to treat a firearm as if it's always loaded. There are basic fundamentals that everybody should know. Not saying that we should just go to schools and start teaching elementary kids, like, hey, this is how you, right? But there has to be education, and we need to get the people who are the most informed about it, getting the message out. And a lot of times we're working against them because it's like, we need to ban these guns, and these people are like, we got to go and put all of our time and energy in protecting the Second Amendment. They don't have time to put much effort into informing the public. Another thing I would say,
most of those people that are protecting the Second Amendment are really lobbyists for the gun industry and just want to sell guns. Again, not everybody, but a lot of them.
Fundamentally, America is a business. And
I have to pull Brent up on something. As much as I love this guy, you told me that this guy would be someone I had to do.
I did not say that. I said he might be.
He might be.
So Javi.
Oh Lord, let me hear.
Yeah, no. So Hilditch, go on the Fakertarians podcast and see him obliterate this tanky named like Billy Bob.
Yeah.
And it's important that the last person I had a debate with on Modern Day Debate was one of the single most unreasonable people that I've ever dealt with. So Hilditch is coming up here and he's like, hey, and I won't treat him like I treated Billy Bob. And I'm like, I don't know about this one guy. You might have to. And I'm glad I was proven wrong. But I was basically like, dude, if he turns out to be an asshole, just fucking murder.
Did you go see anything of my content or anything? Or you just kind of like...
I went to your content. I started to watch like one of your intro videos.
Okay, so this is where I make him laugh. So before... Because it's like now it's about 5 a.m. in the morning, so I had a quick nap before I came onto the show, and I had about a 3-hour nap, and so Brent sent me a load of videos of yourself, and I was watching it, and I was like,
Which is not against your content. That's still did.
Yeah, I was just
I watched like maybe half of one of the videos on your channel. I didn't have time to research for this like I normally do, because I'm buried under 3 writing deadlines.
Yeah,
my son just turned 4, and we had
my daughter just turned 4.
Oh, wonderful!
4. Yeah,
great age. Yeah.
No, we all got 4-year-olds. That's crazy.
I don't have any kids.
So, yeah.
Well, you're still young.
I
do want to say one last thing, because I do got to go here. I got a little podcast with Kaz coming up here. So if you guys want to check that, Christian versus Atheist, that'll be coming on here pretty soon.
Sounds fun.
So South Korea and Japan, actually, you can both technically have guns here. But the requirements they have and like the restrictions and the cost, it's like really inconvenient. So most people just don't have them. And like, for example, if you want like a gun for like hunting, you have to actually keep it stored in a separate place, not at your house. Which I guess it's not really good for self-defense. Yeah, that wouldn't really help you for self-defense.
Yeah.
But
to be fair, statistically speaking, guns are no more effective for self-defense than any other thing, including unarmed. Now it's counterintuitive, but like I was mugged and beaten in the face with a pistol shortly after college, and I remember I've gone through that night like over and over in my head. And me having a gun in that situation would not have helped. It would have only made everything worse.
Yeah, well, you see, this is where I disagree with you. And I probably sort of align more with Javier. Mm-hmm. As a gun owner myself, I had my car stolen last year. Here's the problem, though. I got back home and I was absolutely fucking paralytic. I'd just been out to the Maidstone United game, and I was very drunk. So when I collapsed on my sofa, he nicked my car and I couldn't hear him because I was fast asleep on the sofa. But had he had tried it, I would have gone out there with my rifle. Absolutely 100%. And I think it's really important.
You would have gone out with that rifle shit-faced. Like you might have hit somebody else.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry, Brent. I live in fucking Kent. Who am I going to hit? The sheep or the cow?
These are trying to say something.
I just imagine.
Or somebody passing by.
I imagine all of England is just London in Doctor Who. That's
Diesel's about to go. Let's let him
important.
have a quick word real quick.
Hey, thank you guys. I really appreciate your feedback. We do have 3 bald guys here, and now I guess we have 3 bald guys, 3 guys with hair. So I think mine just looks the best. But anyway, guys, I'll see you in about. I got to prepare for that. So I'll see you guys pretty soon. I'll see you.
See you later, mate.
And
Take it easy.
See you soon, Diesel.
All right, peace.
yeah.
It's gonna be a long night for me.
So actually, Brent, Javier said he's going to have me on his show.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
getting famous, mate. Yeah.
After y'all poorly researched it.
What I want to discuss is all of the countries where they have done buybacks, my own included. I do apologize. I'm a bit under the weather, so I'm a bit blocked up. But
Are you Australian?
Yeah. What do you ask?
War.
What do you mean?
Kill each other now.
G'day, mate.
In a video game.
Yeah. So Australia, which had a mass shooting in Tasmania. Now, someone in the chat was sort of saying, "Hey, don't you still have gun shootings?" And I think there's a problem here that when you start to say, "Hey, we changed the law and it hasn't eliminated the problem completely," then we shouldn't have the law. Is a ridiculous thing.
It's a bad
to say.
argument.
Yeah, but
It's a
not
bad
ridiculous
argument.
It's a bad argument.
But what happened after? I'll just finish. Hey, I'll just finish. After
Okay.
this mass shooting, as we had a buyback of all the guns, basically a grace period, you could hand them in, and we basically really clamped down on the legislation. There has not been one mass shooting since. And currently, New Zealand is doing exactly the same thing because it worked in Australia and in other countries. So I really just go, well, if I realize that America has a different culture. I realize that there's a lot more guns in
we are
America.
batshit insane.
Let me
It's
ask you.
not
all-
our culture.
it's a different culture.
We have
Yeah, but I just-
Hang on, guys. Let Mark get it out.
It seems that these restrictions did work for other countries, and people just go, no, it wouldn't work. And I wonder why. What argument you
Here's
have
why.
against?
Australia's an
Okay.
island. Australia's an island.
Well,
USA's on the border
I-
of Mexico. Listen, it's this simple. USA's on the border of Mexico. The amount of smuggling that takes place on a daily basis. That's a different situation. There are guns being run into our country literally every day by the thousand.
Our guns are going to Mexico, not the other way around.
Yeah, but I would also say as well. So
Well,
I understand.
yeah,
I
right.
understand what Mr. Mark Reed is saying. He's talking about the Port Arthur massacre, but the Port Arthur massacre was a once-off.
Well, let me ask you this, Mark.
No, it wasn't. We had
Mark.
other mass shootings before then.
Yeah. When did you have a mass shooting over 10 people in Australia? That was surmounted
Port
to.
Arthur?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's my point. So apart from that, what else? You have to Google it.
Let me ask Mark a question. Mark,
No,
you're from Australia. You're from Australia, so
I don't know.
And
I do know that we had mass shootings before Port Arthur above 10 people.
yeah.
Okay, so name one.
Hang on, Josh. That's not fair because like the thing is that the media system in Australia may be different than the media system in the United States, where again these mass shootings are very good for business, both for gun manufacturers and for the freaking vampires.
Let me ask you a question though. Australia. Isn't Australia the government that just did like massive crackdowns on their citizens and forced them to in curfew and stuff like that? And they were arresting people and
The entire world did that, dude.
Yeah,
But
everywhere except the United States, and we've got over 1 million dead.
no, but what I'm saying is I believe like they were literally like arresting people and I've even seen videos where they were beating the citizens and forcing them into their house in Australia. I might be wrong, but
I
believe
talking about the isolation and quarantine laws.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of the sort of anti-vax, sort of quarantine sort of narrative has been called over there, and we did, depending on the state that you're in, we did have pretty strict quarantine and isolation laws. I don't think anyone was beaten and thrown in there. I know that a video was going around with a woman being thrown down. It was like pre-quarantine, had nothing to do with the quarantine, but they love spreading that misinformation around. Most citizens followed the quarantine and isolation laws, especially in my state where the amount of people that died from COVID was, I think, in double digits. So it was like it's gotten up to about 15 to 20 people have died due to these
Yeah,
laws.
but it's also an island, dude.
Well, it's a very
Look,
big island.
Well,
Going back to the gun thing and Ireland, we still have ports, we still have smuggling. It's not like that just goes away. And Brendan is correct.
Actually, I beg to differ.
Hang on, guys. So I looked this up. There were 13 mass shootings before the mass shooting that killed the 35.
Yeah, I was just looking at the Queen Street.
You guys know how much?
So that would be one example.
Do you guys know how much drugs come into the U.S. from Mexico, like Mexico, every day?
Why would I care? Drugs are awesome.
Yeah,
Well, no, but I'm saying like, okay, so there was a time where cocaine was legal in the U.S. and then it wasn't, and now it just gets shipped en masse, like smuggled en masse rather, from Mexico. So yeah, the reason that we're smuggling more guns from U.S. into Mexico than vice versa currently is because guns are still legal in the U.S. Outlaw guns, and you'll see that pole shift overnight. And
I mean, I don't think anyone's nobody.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole point is that we're in a unique guns into the US. Your point was guns were being smuggled into the US. Now you seem to have done a 180 and said, well,
no.
Actually, it's drugs coming into the US and guns going out. So I'm not.
Mark, what I'm trying to say is that they're coming in and out. Okay, guns are coming in.
It's a revolving door with guns.
They're coming in and out. But Brenton was right. There are more guns go from U.S. into Mexico than the other way around. That's because guns are legal in the U.S. We don't really need to generally get them from Mexico. However, if you outlaw guns in the U.S. and do a buyback program, overnight you will see an influx of all those guns, just the same way they smuggle in the coke and the heroin and the drugs. All of a sudden, it's just gonna you're opening a floodgate. So
yeah, I see what you're saying there.
Australia's not in that.
Out.
Yeah,
so Australia has a black market as well, and
but they're an island.
Okay, it doesn't matter that they're an island.
We have miles of.
Look, what he's saying is it's easier to control the flow with island versus having a wide border.
It's not. That's the thing. Like we have a large border, but large portions of our border are not crossable. About the same amount of influx traffic would come through the Mexican border as would come through Australia. It's not.
That's nonsense. With all due respect, that's wrong. That's so.
Okay. I live in an island.
Wait, Brenton, why do you think everything costs? It's so expensive.
Americans have ports as well on top of the border.
It's so expensive where?
I would agree. It would be easier to smuggle things in the US. I agree with you, Sunflower.
A bottle of Jack Daniels or a 6-pack of Corona in Australia is like 2.5 times what it is everywhere else.
Because they put high taxes on it. It's the same thing.
All the imports
and the exchange
they don't have as easy commerce over the freaking Pacific Ocean as they do. But
Mark, can you explain the exchange rate?
Yeah, so the exchange rate is the Australian dollar isn't as strong as the US.
It's true for Hawaii. It's true for even Hawaii.
No, he's saying it doesn't matter.
No, Hawaii is a U.S. state, and it's also expensive. Wait, everything's also expensive in Hawaii, and that's a U.S. state. It's not about the taxes. It's about it costs some money.
Yeah,
cost of living into the island.
Look, we're getting way off topic here. No, and I agree with you, Sunflower, that it would be easier to smuggle into the US. But this brings me back to my point that just because a law doesn't completely eliminate something doesn't mean we just throw the law out the window and say, hey, well, we might as well not restrict all of these things because we can't prevent a black market from having them.
That's a fair argument.
People from smuggling them in. That's like saying,
murder, for example. You can't stop murder, but you're still going to have a law against murder.
We can't stop people from assaulting.
But it's not viable in America.
We're going to get hold of weapons, so let's just make assault legal.
But the other big thing, by the way, is that in Australia, if you look at their black market, they do have guns on their black market, but the prices are through the freaking roof.
Yeah.
Right,
and-
because you can't smuggle them over the border with a van.
Yeah, but even if
That's why.
nobody smuggles
No,
guns
no,
over the
it's
border with
because
vans.
it's because of the risk as well.
What do you mean?
All right.
Life
Okay,
is not
so-
a movie, dude. Like, when
we've
they
got
are
too many
ready-
people in here right now. I think we're gonna go ahead and say goodbye
Yeah,
to
sorry.
Sunflower. Thank you so
What?
much for coming.
Why are you taking me
Goodbye
out, dude?
to Mark. We're gonna let Eloy and Mango T have a little bit. Thank you, Mark, for coming.
Yes,
I really
All
appreciate it.
right.
No problem at all.
Good
Thank
luck
you
with
so
your
much.
111 followers, dude. Your channel.
Oh my god, that guy's such a prick. I'm sorry, but
Mango T, Eloy, you guys have
How's
a
it
few
going?
minutes to have some time with the guys here, but we're gonna wrap it up soon because I can tell that everybody's getting tired, and I am too.
particularly Hilditch. But it's okay. When we get
yeah.
tired, we get punchy.
That might have been the longest I didn't hear Hill did say anything. It was Sunflower came on.
Whoa, yeah. Do you know what? I like the fact that like Javier has already recognized who I am. I'm just a fucking talker. You know what I mean? Like I fucking say things.
We were vibing, man. We were.
We were fucking vibing all the time and stuff like that. Like, dude, seriously, like you and me could actually make it like a really good podcast because we're on the opposite ends of the political spectrum, and we'd be bouncing off each other every single time. But also, as well, the birds like my fucking accent, so we can get.
Hey guys, I have a question. So
Yes.
you,
Go on, Mango.
it's funny how you guys are pro-choices when your own mother chose life.
What?
What a fucking stupid argument! Kick this guy out of the. Seriously, dude. Look, if you want to have a serious conversation, give me a fucking serious question.
I think what he's trying to say is you can only be pro-choice if somebody was pro-life.
So you reckon?
I mean, no, because my mom's pro-choice. So
You reckon because my mum fucking had a bit of a shag with my dad that I'm not fucking talking about abortion? Are you fucking alright? Are you okay? You've been dropped on the head of the baby or something like that?
See, Javi, this is
Are you
what I was
serious?
talking about with
Turn your-
Hilditch.
turn-
He's
Hey,
savage when he wants to-
Mango, turn your fucking camera on. I want to see what you look like. You probably look like the fucking elephant man.
Yeah, I really do actually.
Oh,
Thanks
okay, my
for
heart goes out
confirming.
to you.
Yeah. Well, you might as well leave the channel now because you ain't got.
There's
fuck
no
all
such
to
thing
do
as a
yet.
pro-choice. There's no such thing as a pro-choicer. Like,
What? Was this a
Who's
thing
that?
of pro-choice?
Are you
What?
okay? Like, have you had acid or something?
Who's that talking?
That's,
Is that Mango T?
Mango T, yeah. He's talking.
No way. Say something else.
I can't hear anything.
there's no such thing as a pro-choicer.
Oh, there's no such thing as a pro-choice. No, yes, there is.
we've already defeated that
right here.
argument. Would you like to leave, or do you want me to show you the door?
Sound different.
Wait, so what do you guys? So if a woman is raped, is she supposed to bring the baby to term?
No,
No.
that's the whole fucking point. What's wrong with you? Are you okay? Like, you literally just said, "Oh, you know, I'm fucking pro like life and shit like that." Now you're talking about rape, and then she's supposed to bring that kid up. Are you serious?
I know
never
people
forced a
who-
woman
I think if she's raped, then yeah, she has. She needs to bring the baby to term. It's got.
Are you from South Africa?
The baby is innocent, and the baby must live. I don't care if you're raped. Bring the baby to
Okay,
term.
no, that wasn't my question. My question was, are you South African?
I could be for money.
Okay, you are South African, so I'm going to disregard everything you fucking say. All right, go back to Pretoria, mate. Fuck off.
Oh
All right.
my god.
So, Mango T, is that all you had to say?
Yes.
Out you go. Piss
Thank you
off.
for much. You have a great
Yeah,
night.
you might have been too hard on Mango T, man. Look, I think Mango T. I know women who. I know at least 3 women that I can name off the back of my hand who have babies as a result of a rape, and they claim that having that baby was the best thing that ever happened to them. That's anecdotal. That's not something that.
Yeah, but
That's not
again,
something that
that's-
applies to all women. I get
Yeah.
that, but I don't think you can say that you should automatically get an abortion because you were raped. I think it's
Yeah, but
just-
I
yeah.
can't take a South African serious because they're like, yeah, bro, I was going through Johannesburg, you know, in the fucking fuck off, get out of here. Fuck
I love
off.
that you're being racist, Hilditch.
I'm not, though. I'm addressing white South Africans.
Yeah, you're right.
Unless you decided that it's okay to be, you know, apparently you can be racist against white South Africans. Brent Lengel, you're
No, well, technically it's not. You were being.
you backtracks. Look at that.
Is it? Yeah, you're being racist against a country, but I'll
I'm not being
allow it.
racist against the country. I'll listen to fucking you know, the black people of South Africa. Oh, this fucking dickhead over here.
You knew he was.
I fucking banged my mum, and then she had a fucking baby. And then what do you think? I had to bring it up or something like that? Like, fuck off.
So, sorry, should we let Eloy say something? He's been here a while.
Yeah.
Eloy, did you have anything to say?
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
No, Eloy.
Nothing. I think that it's totally normal for people to not want
to talk to South Africans. Yes.
Yeah. You don't want to talk to them, Drew.
Oh, sorry. Continue. That was too easy.
Yeah. I don't think that it's too out of the norm for people to not, appreciate much the abortion issue on the side of, the positive of people getting rid of potential, baby. I think that's a perfectly sound thing for people to emotionally and intellectually consider. But we have the problem, which is that unfortunately we can't. So we're all responsible for our own actions. And according to that, if someone does something 100 miles away from you, you have no connection to those events. And what's interesting is that it kind of blends in with the gun conversation you guys were having, especially in America. The problem is that we have about, I think it's like some 50 to 100 guns per citizen if they wanted to. We have a lot of guns.
Yeah.
And Americans aren't going to let go of.
So I guess my question
and
now.
Americans, no, hold on. And Americans aren't going to they're not going to let go of their guns anytime soon.
Sure.
But
so what's your solution?
Hold on. Let me get my bit out. So Americans aren't going to get rid of their guns anytime soon. And the reason that they keep their guns is for many reasons, and including toppling the government if need be, and all the things that some people might think are crazy and very might well be, or maybe not, or it's all out there. And then there's insane people that go shooting, and there's all these things. But we're responsible for ourselves as individuals according to the United States and our laws. And so, when the riots were occurring a year and a half to 2 years ago, whenever that was, across the country, people were sort of they were acting like mobs. There's a lot of guns in the country, and yet we didn't see Americans going crazy shooting up the country from left to right. We saw rioters burning things and such and this and that, but we didn't see massive, waves of people killing, which you would assume with the fear that some folks have of allowing individuals to carry so much power. They would assume right off the bat that there would be massacre in the streets. In England, I've heard that they don't have that right. I guess for hunting they have some sort of, but I've heard that they've taken up knives. There's special stores where you have to go to purchase certain types of,
yeah, correct.
So now there's a situation where they're taking up, if man wants to kill, if woman wants to kill, even if it's human beings are a messy, society is a messy situation.
Eloy, I like the fact that you were so patiently quiet, and then the moment you got to talk, you were like, you flooded us with a bunch. I get your point. What I would say is the reason that the riots and stuff didn't result into like mass shootings and stuff like that. Let's just be honest. The left doesn't have that many guns, and it was the left that was doing.
Here's the thing: you're not just talking about the left. The Democrats don't have many guns. The Democrats were not the ones in the streets. Like when you're talking about the radical left, the anarchists, the communists, like Marxists, those people love guns. And they, the John Brown. Hell, I raised money to buy medikits for through the John Brown Rifle Association. Leftists do have guns, and if people continue getting shot, there will probably start being shootouts between the far right and the far left, which I think would be an absolute disaster.
I want to share a thought before I lose it, and especially tossing it to Kaz as well. It's a generalized thing, but just to keep it in mind as a possibility. So I've thought a lot about a lot of the issues that go on, particularly in the United States, to be honest with you, more so than anywhere else. I've thought a lot about problems with race, which has been touched upon on this channel, and many things, and the other subjects that we've touched upon and stuff. And I just put this out there. I don't know, I think that the trouble in many situations across under many different topics, whatever they may be, it's a problem of categorizing things in its proper degree. So people, like, for instance, the left and right, we understand that there's this thing that we all identify as the left and right, as an example, and then we have the attributes that we see or we've come to accept from each side. And I know that we all know that it's more nuanced than that, but we tend to go the way of pitchforks and torches, because humans we're just messy and contradictory all the time, or a lot of the time. So when we think of or say something in a conversation or a discussion such as, and because the left, it's easy for people to be swept up by that wind and taken away, and then sort of like put everybody in a box. The same thing with race, the same thing in politics, and the same thing with situations like abortion. It's all very messy stuff. So there's categories.
But Eloy, the right does the same thing.
What do you mean?
I think I don't think he was suggesting that the right didn't do the same thing.
Okay. I'm just saying.
No, I'm not suggesting. I'm not going from a position. I was putting out. You weren't here. I think you had walked away for a second. I was just putting out the suggestion that when we. So, for instance, what you just said right now,
Sure.
It's an honest thing to ask. But you didn't catch the first half of it, and which is fine because people do that all. I mean, we're human beings. But here's what happens. When you let me just
Eloy, I love you, brother, but I mean, they are giving you way more rope than they gave the last guy.
Yeah, here, hang on for just a second. So we had this. I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm glad that you're laying out the whole case here. We would do this with Occupy Wall Street to indicate a speaker to wrap it up. Can you get directly to the point?
Yeah, everything I said. I am. Let me just throw this out.
The poor guy. Look, if you want to have a conversation, you can come onto my page on Vegetarians. We have a conversation.
Okay, let me just throw this out. Actually, it was for Kaz because we had a chat here on the sidebar here, so it's not really. But if you guys enjoy it, that's fine or not. The problem of categorizing and such. So people will say things that cross different thresholds of categories, and that's where all the conversations and arguments occur, because everybody has slightly different definitions on things.
That's really smart,
and that works with the race category. The issue about race that happens with race, it happens with politics, and so on and so forth. That's just what I want to say. I'm not pro-abortion by any stance, but at the same time, I have the problem that I believe in individual responsibility. So it's a conflicting thing. I believe life starts at frickin' conception. However, I have the problem of your autonomy and your conscience that I can't.
Well, we appreciate your time.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time.
And you're totally right. It's called the hasty equivocation fallacy. It's essentially what happens. So cool. Thanks for coming.
All right, I appreciate it, Eloy. Thank you so much. We will get you back on again later on.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, thank you for being an adult.
See you later, mate. Take it easy.
All right, so guys, that's gonna end our little open discussion section.
Sure.
I do have a bunch of questions. I don't expect you guys to stick around for them necessarily. If you want to, that's great. I'm gonna go through them and read them all. But I'm gonna give you guys an out right now. If you guys want to take off right now and go ahead and do that, I'm gonna read these questions.
Can I, before you ask the question, I'm gonna stay for them. But can I just explain something really quick? So, Javi, this is what I wanted to get at in the debate. So, this is a big thing. This is not just you. A lot of people are wrong about this. utilitarianism versus deontology. What you were describing in the debate was actually deontology. It was based around, like, deontology is rule-based morality. The rule says this, therefore we do this.
No, that's not what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
I was saying that utilitarian argument is based on outcomes. What's the desired outcome, and whatever means justifies the end. I mean, the means justify the end justifies the means. That's what I was trying to get to.
Well, it depends on the type of utilitarianism, but yeah, like a utilitarian argument could be anything from like don't abort all babies because being alive is difficult, therefore we should spare them that pain. So there's a lot of, essentially what I'm saying is that there is a lot of I guess variety. You could make a utilitarian argument for abortion, you could make a utilitarian argument against abortion. I think what you described was consequentialist, but that's kind of stuff in there with
pretty much. I think I don't remember if I got a chance to finish my thought, but I was essentially trying to say, if we acknowledge this human life, one could argue, say, well, I could accept that it's human life and it's murder, but it's worth it given the alternative. Like, and I consider that to be a utilitarian argument. And I would, in my opinion, I feel like that would be a more honest conversation, even though I get that people would be outraged by hearing it. But and sometimes I feel like if some people who are pro-choice made that argument, it would, to me, be intellectually more honest, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, they're not going to make the argument that it's murder because they don't think it's murder. They genuinely don't think that a fetus, and I genuinely do not think that a fetus is a person. And like I said in the thing, I don't think. But anyway, let's go with cats. I don't want to hold anything up.
No. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me through this, and I really just appreciate you guys for coming here tonight. So from La Tornado says, armed guards at schools, more guns are the key. What do you guys think of that?
Was horrifying. Like, first off, think about like how many dumbass teachers and administrators like you had to deal with in school. Now you think you give those people weapons, kids are going to get hurt. I think like we cannot be turning schools into a prison, and I really don't think we need to be throwing more weapons at the problem, especially with regard to untrained people and people whose job is something other than security. Plus, I mean, the most recent shooting in Texas, the cops were there already. There was an armed security guard. They were cowardly, and he still wound up coming in and killing all those people. So, the state is not good at defending human life. That was one of the points that I was trying to make.
Yeah, hence the Second Amendment, which I appreciate. But I think I think what I would say is I don't want guns in the school. I don't think we need more people in the school with guns. I would appreciate a volunteer program where like retired military or police officers set up a perimeter around the school where the kids wasn't necessarily aware of it, and they can get like an upper hand on when something crazy was coming towards the school, and we can get like a early signal, or at least these guys stopping the threat. Like that guy drove there, he had already shot at a church and stuff like that, and drove there and crashed the truck and stuff like that. I don't want the kids to be aware of like armed guards present inside their school and stuff like that. But if people in the community with training are willing to set up like a 4-block perimeter around just to keep an eye on things and switch shifts like that, it would definitely give us an upper hand if something were to happen.
That would cost a lot of money, but
that's why I say it would be a volunteer program, something that people in the community would. I think a lot of people with that training might be willing to, switch shifts, do like 3 2-hour shifts or 4-hour shifts and swap with people. It's possible.
That's a good idea, though. I will point something out. There is a specific type of person who might be interested in volunteering for that. It's like the type of people that become cops because they're bullies and they just want to bully people. So you would really have to screen people and make sure that the ones that are going in there are, 1, trained, and 2,
have a good record and clean. Yeah. And I'm open for that as well. But I just thought that would be a better solution. I don't want kids walking in school and seeing a whole bunch of guys packing. That's just, and I don't want more guns just sitting in school. Go ahead, Hell Ditch.
I like that Javi and me are on the same side of that one. Hillage, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, yeah. I can hear you now. You
all right? Okay.
Mute.
So I think grade 9. if my teacher had a weapon, they would have fucking blown my head off. I was a right little shit. I was an absolute cunt. So here's my thing. Like, I get it. I totally get it. There's often the old saying that a good man with a gun solves the problem with a bad man with a gun. But then, does it solve the problem with little shits like me? Probably not.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't even solve the problem of a bad they're saying that a good guy with a gun is the cure for a bad guy with a gun. We had 3 good guys with guns and they all failed. And
I'll tell you what I did. So
I would say that they were not good guys.
Yeah, in grade 9, we took these like massive, I don't know what you call it in America, but you've got these like giant tubs of like detergent, like the dishwasher liquid. Yeah. And so we went to this fountain in my school, right? And we thought it would be a really fucking funny idea to pour it in there. Anyway, we woke up in the morning and we went, oh, Jesus Christ. And there were bubbles and it was going all over the fucking road. I could see my teacher just going, do you know what? You're useless.
Yeah, bang.
So I'm actually opposed to school teachers having a gun because
I think one thing we gotta point out is the fact that these type of killers often do target gun-free zones. They do go for where the most helpless people are. You never hear anybody going and shooting up a gun range. It's unheard of. So while I get that the good guy with the gun argument is a little overplayed, it's highly relied on, I do think at some point there has to be somebody with a gun to stop somebody else with a gun at some point.
I mean, it depends on the situation, to tell you the truth. But yeah, I get what you're saying. And I do think that, a gun is a force multiplier. And sometimes there will be situations where you need another force multiplier. Like
also, he needs to be prepared to use it. If you look what happened in Texas, right, with those police officers that rolled up to that school, they had every single opportunity to go into that school and stop him. And they did not do that. Right. Yeah. So me, as a responsible gun owner, all right, as someone that's pro-gun, the first instinct I would have had would be to go in to stop that man. Well, I suppose a kid, whatever you want to argue.
He's 18. He's a man.
Yeah, right. To stop that man and put him down. But the police on the front, they were tasing the parents of the people that were trying to get into the school. And I think this is absolutely deplorable.
Okay, let me
police officer.
Let me say something.
That is your duty.
Let me say something about this. I think we should probably kind of hold back a little bit on what exactly took place, because last time I checked, there was some more information. There was some more information coming out about certain officers are there to set up a perimeter and stuff like that. Some officers, like, they were waiting for SWAT team. I'm not saying that they didn't. I'm not saying that they did the right thing. But also, there's a lot that I just don't know about police procedure and exactly what was taking place to just say that they were being cowardice. Because from what I understand, there were shots being exchanged. They just didn't have the proper equipment to, like, block his fire. And they had, like, their issued pistols.
These guys are trained. So if
it's an 18-year-old kid.
In that situation,
they have one shooter. Your job is one job. It is to go in there and to protect the public, and you failed to do so. So my decision, right?
But,
okay. So again, this is coming from a guy that pro-gun.
So Hildes, let me point something else out. Right, in those situations, what you don't know, you don't know. Far as we know, the guy's barricading himself in there and he's exchanging fire with the police.
You still have to go in.
Yes, you do. But what you don't know is, we don't know if he's planning on taking hostages. We don't know if he's planning on just killing the kids outright. And you could go in guns a-blazing, but you also got to be careful. Guns a-blazing also means stray bullets, possibly entering children. So I'm not saying that they were right. I'm just saying that I think that it's a much more complicated situation, and I'm just not willing to take one side over the other at this moment.
Fair enough. There could be some.
Can I make a comparison here? So, a long time ago, I think it was like in the 80s or something like that. Like a bunch of terrorists took over a hotel in London. and it was, like they were Iranian terrorists. So the first thing, the police came and they saw, they got their binoculars and they looked up and they went, "This is too hard to deal with. Too hard to deal with." So what did they do? They called the army. And the army then called the SES. The SES then came in, rolled in, and saved every single hostage. Now, this is where I find it absolutely ridiculous, right? If you are not capable of saving those children, then call someone who is.
Yeah.
From what I understand, they did. It just took them time to get there. And once they got there,
they didn't. I've looked at the records.
I might be wrong. Like I said, I've been getting conflicting information.
I've looked at the transcripts. I've looked at everything, and I'm trying to be impartial, and I'm trying to not be ACAB as I normally would be. Right? But so me and Brent are on the very same level. They're like ACAB and everything. But I'm looking at the transcript. They had every single opportunity to go in. They had every single opportunity to call someone that was actually more trained and better specialized to go in and deal with the problem, and they didn't. And that, to me, is a disgrace. So there are 19 children dead? You had one phone call to make. One. And if you couldn't deal with it, get someone who can. You're in Texas. There are loads of army bases there. I used to go to Dallas all the time. There are army bases all around the place. Just fucking get one of those guys to come in. Well, not one of those guys, but one of those, sort of like a troop to come in and deal with the problem. But they didn't do it. And then also, these people take an oath to serve the public. And when you take an oath to serve the public, your responsibility is, no matter how difficult it is, maybe you might lose your life, your responsibility is to go in and to save as many people as possible. And they did not. And I think that every single person who is on that police force, who was there that day, should hand their badges in today.
Yeah,
totally.
I would agree.
I'm just refraining from judgment right now because I've been hearing conflicting reports. If what you say is correct, I'm all the way there with you. I just recently, before I got on here, I heard some news about them was trying to get other kids out of the school. There was other stuff going on. But like I said, if you're right and you saw all the information, then I'm willing to second that everything is correct.
I just think that, because we often hear from conservatives that the police force, and I can sort of relate to my own country as well, like the police force are the good guys, they're good guys with the guns and everything like that. They're going to come and say something. But if the good guys with the guns come and they sit at the frontier and they simply do not go in, and they do not, then, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. You could have gone in. You could have stopped it. That's your job.
Yeah.
You signed up for it.
Yeah.
And to stand there and go, "Oh, I don't want to die. Oh, poor me."
Yeah.
Well,
I've known
idiot. That's what you signed up for, you dickhead.
Yeah. So I do kind of gravitate towards the cab, slogan. I've known some really good cops in my time. Captain Ray Lewis. I was at Occupy Wall Street in New York, and Captain Ray Lewis was the former Philadelphia police captain who was arrested with us. That dude is so fucking cool. And really, honestly, he's a hero. And I've known some of the cops that I know. We used to live near a state trooper. He was pretty cool. One of the cops nearby where I am was actually one of the first helpful ones that I've ever run into. But man, dealing with the NYPD, it was like dealing with a fucking rabid dog.
I remember that video of you marching up and down the NYPD lines where you got the little fucking horn and everything like that. And you was
oh, that wasn't the NYPD. That was actually those cops were better than the NYPD. That was in Charlottesville, I think, or Charlotte. It was at the Democratic National Convention. And again, I met some great cops when I was protesting the DNC. I met some really freaky ones. They rolled up on us in the dark as we're walking around with because it's raining, so we got tarps, and the cops just roll up on us and they're like, "Hey, are you carrying signs?" And I'm like, "Would it be a problem if we were?" And the cop's like, "Well, signs make us nervous." And what I wanted to say was, "Well, officer, do you know what makes me nervous?" But I'm not a fucking idiot. But like literally while this was going on, I noticed if you've ever been in like a club or a bar and like a you see a guy come up and like creep on a girl and stand like unnaturally close to her, like that's what the fucking cop behind me was doing.
This is what I'm talking about, Javier. This is what I'm talking about. So like he rocks up at the protest with a sign, and you get like a load of police, and they come up and they go, "Oh, we're a bit anxious about the sign, you know. Otherwise, we're gonna have to draw it out fire." Why couldn't you do that in Texas? Why couldn't you do that? Why couldn't you have the same sort of like a intensity, the same sort of anger to look at, like, you know? And I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional, and I'm not an emotional person, but you know, like we just lost 19 kids. These guys will never ever be able to drive a car. They won't be able to get married. You know, this is an absolute, not only national level disgrace, it is a worldwide disgrace.
I agree.
Those guys that were standing out there with their semi-automatic rifles, with all the sort of weaponry that they could have stopped it, did not go in. Shame on them.
Yeah,
I agree. I just think that
well, you're right to be careful.
I'm very careful about this because, like, based on the information I have, I'm just not willing to demonize or say all of them or who. But what I will say is, sometimes we speak of cops like, oh, the cops in this situation did X, Y, and Z. Why couldn't the cops over here do it? And every cop is a human being, and human beings react differently in different circumstances, right? So while those cops may have been dicks, I'm sorry for using that word, when they were dealing with him and his son, maybe the officers in Uvalde don't have that same heart, right?
I would have a lot fewer kind things to say about them than
I seriously have to fly to whatever state Javier is in so he can meet me in person, because he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry that I used the word dicks." Have you been fucking listening to me?
I
use the word fucking cunt. I say fuck. I say this. I say twat.
I know. I try not to curse because, like, I know on my show especially, people let their 16-year-olds and 15-year-olds listen to my show, and I try to keep it as clean as I possibly can.
Sorry, kids.
Don't be watching my show.
Yeah.
If you're 16, then just go away. No.
If you're 16,
wait, hang on a second. Who's that? Who's that over there?
No 16-year-olds allowed.
Wait. hang on a second,
I don't even want to deal with that.
Oh my God, Kaz, it's Chris Hansen.
Fuck that shit.
Take a seat right there. I got a few questions.
Hey, let's just knock these out real quick. Come on, guys.
Okay.
Let's just quick and pithy. Latornado says, so armed guards around the school. Same shit.
Well, I guess that was a reference.
It's not a question. That's a statement.
Yeah, I guess that was in reference to what I said about setting up a perimeter like a few blocks around the school just to keep like a heads up in case something's coming that way. I don't see it as the same thing as having armed guards inside the school, but I guess, it's up for your interpretation.
What else you got, Kaz?
Hannah Anderson says, I know, make abortion illegal and pass on more guns to fetuses.
Read it again.
Make abortion illegal and pass our guns to fetuses.
It just sounds so typically American. Yeah. Okay.
That's fucking great.
You do what you want, love. Fair enough.
What do you got next?
Clarence Tompkins, because that was part of the poverty, its side effects that grabs hold onto the community.
Can I? Okay,
because
so
that was part
Kaz,
of the poverty.
Kaz, could I have a translation into English, please?
Yeah. I think I know what he was maybe getting at. So here's the thing. We know that when women are denied abortions, like they have worse economic and personal outcomes. Like that's a fact. I think it's
great.
Yeah. So like the process of forcing a woman who's unwilling to have a baby, especially if she's unwilling because she can't afford it, only exacerbates that problem and keeps them in a cycle of poverty. And it's, again, also really, really bad for the kids and any other kids she may have.
I know y'all I totally disagree, but there's something in the chat that's really bothering me because I've been reading the chat the whole time. Right?
Oh, don't read the chat.
I really like engaging with people, right? So sometimes I'll just leave. But I know Sideshow says, "Wow, people making judgments about who have not been in life and death situations, who have never had to decide whether to take life or not." Basically, summarize around that. I'll just personally say that I grew up in a very, very violent situation. gang violence, drugs, you name it. I've been in multiple gang shootouts personally. I've been jumped by 30 guys. I've had my best friend put a pistol to my face and pull the trigger and it jammed. So I've been in multiple situations where there was life and death. And some things I'll never speak on, of course, but that's why I'm very reserved when I try to speak on certain issues, because like many of these cases, things get very complex and more time go on, you get more details and you find out stuff that you didn't know days before, right? So I just wanted to let y'all know, me personally, I'm not trying to speak from a place of ignorance. I'm really trying to come at it from the knowledge that I have. So just in case that was anything. Yeah.
I have been in. You could say the mugging that I was involved with was a life or death situation. It could have been. I don't know. If I had chosen to fight, I might have gotten shot. I don't know if the gun that they hit me with was loaded. Similarly, like, when I had the insane Polish cocaine dealer fire off his AK-47 in my apartment, I mean, like, the bullets
were not fit for me, comrades.
Yeah, to explain this guy, like, he did a Russian speedball, which was he did a bunch of cocaine, got very paranoid, and drank a bottle of Grey Goose to try to calm down. And he thought there was a person outside the door. I mean, this is the middle of like Lexington, Kentucky. There's nobody dangerous outside the door. He fired that thing off, two slugs. Bullets went through my door, across the quad, through the wall of the Chinese foreign exchange students, across the way, through their living room, through the back window, and buried themselves in the brick of the building 2 buildings down. And like nobody called the cops. Like in the end, he wound up like fixing the door, and thank God nobody was hurt. But I'm not some freaking badass who's dealing with stuff, and I haven't been put into really difficult situations with regard to poverty and gangs and that shit. But I have had my life on the line more than once. Those are only the 2 times it was I guess associated with guns. But like I don't think you necessarily have to have experienced extreme violence to talk about whether or not abortion is legal. It should be legal or illegal.
Well, but there's the other thing. If we were talking about are we talking about gun laws?
They were talking about the cops and the situation in Texas. That's what I think. That's what they were referencing.
Yeah. But the cops and situation in Texas sort of like bleeds into what I'm saying when you have the liberals, and the liberals come along and they say that we have to introduce more gun laws. And for me, I think this is just. I've said it before. I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. That it just simply does not address the issue.
Yeah.
Right? So, like I said it before, where you had poverty or whatever, anything like that. Also, last time that we had a major round of gun legislation in America, which is actually in California, believe it or not, that sort of blue state, it's specifically targeting people of color. Now, I cannot in my bones support a law that targets someone like yourself, Javier, which is, I've only met you today, but I quite like you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, right. So if someone's going to take your guns away, I would be opposed to this.
Yeah, you're one of the cooler conservatives I've talked to on here.
I'm not sure he's even conservative, to be fair.
Oh, I'm very much conservative.
Yeah, well, he says that, but
you would have known that if you didn't fall asleep during my video.
Well, the funny thing is he's already invited me to his podcast, so I'm sure we'll have more debates to come.
I tend to. I'm going
to go to Windsor Castle.
Kaz, what do you have?
Castle. I'm going to go to Windsor Castle, and I'll debate him from there. I'll be sitting in the Queen's chair, and I'll be like, yes, of course.
So Mark Reed said to Hannah Anderson that the research does seem to indicate a restriction of guns lowers mass shooting incidents.
Yeah. I mean, it does. I don't know.
In America?
I'm sorry, from
we haven't
what
tried
study,
it really in America,
study,
but
from what study? That's just absolutely ridiculous. I can point to a point in history. So if you look at the Hungerford massacre, which was in England, so that was 1982, I believe. That was when the first set of gun legislation came in. What they found is when you brought in this gun legislation, crime went up. So
Yeah, but
I'm very intrigued to know where they got this study from.
So here's the thing with crime going up. First of all, we don't know necessarily that that's violent crime. Sorry,
gun crime
goes up. So then there is. So it's like you would probably expect a spike in crime right at the beginning once the gun legislation is passed. In the same way that, like, if we went in the United States and legalized cocaine, there might be a big spike in people doing cocaine right away because
you say?
They've already done it in Portugal, Brent.
Yeah,
and what they did in Portugal,
Javier, and Portugal.
This is where the argument falls flat on its face. Portugal legalized all drugs. They opened up these, they prepared for it. They opened up these drug centers that you could go and get cocaine, ecstasy, tablets or whatever, things like that. What they found is when people were actually going to these centers and getting pure sort of stuff, that crime actually went down.
Yes.
Then the sort of like resources on the healthcare system went down.
Sure.
So the idea that
I was talking about drug use, though. I would assume that use went up when they like that it would immediately spike and then go down.
Yeah, of course it did.
Let me say two things, right? I think the first thing concerning the question is Americans have so many guns. I think it's going to cost more lives banning guns than it would not banning guns.
Yeah. Though I should say a lot of Americans who have a lot of guns are kind of pussies. Like, not all of them, but there's a decent amount of people that,
but you're going to have people trying to hide their guns. You're going to have, there's going to be a whole, you got to go around confiscating the people who won't bring it. And there's going to be a lot of people not trying to bring their guns. But the second thing I would say is, what do you say to the elderly woman in a poverty-stricken neighborhood who lives in a gang-infested neighborhood and bullets are flying through her door or whatever, that she can't have a firearm to protect herself or her grandchild or her? Right?
Two things to that, right? First of all, it goes back to what I was saying before. You need to solve the problem of poverty. Okay. Yeah. The second thing is, of course, she should be able to own a firearm to defend herself, because everyone should be able to defend themselves, right?
I will.
It's your house.
I'm going to point out,
you live there. You have the right to defend yourself.
So first off, how elderly is this woman? I mean, like we take driver's licenses away from people when they get too old to either see or
she doesn't even have to be elderly. She could just be a 23-year-old black woman in a gang-infested neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with her. I'm fine with her having a weapon then. But
why is there sort of clauses that you're talking about? Okay, I'm fine with her having a weapon. Why are you not fine with everyone having a weapon at that age?
Well, because I try to think about everything as individualized and as specific as possible, instead of taking a blunt force approach to things. In much the same way, like we don't let kids. You have to have an age before you can get a driver's license.
We're not talking about kids. We're talking about adult people.
We were talking about the elderly specifically. I think there should be an age where you get to it, and maybe you take a test or something. But there should be an age like you're 95 and you're kind of losing it.
Hang on a sec. So Javier wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'm just saying. It's 1 a.m. and my wife is in.
Yeah. I gotta get going too.
So yeah.
Okay, let's do the rest.
Let's wrap it up, guys.
Yeah.
We gotta cut it off. I actually have another podcast to go do right now. So
the first podcast that we went on was Everyday Debate. Is that what's called?
That was Monday Debate. And this
Monday
one is
Debate.
mine, KontentionZ on the KayFellowz Network, which is an open platform for anybody who wants to do a show. If anybody out there who wants to do their own show, email me at KayFellowz Network and we can work something out. By the way, thank you guys for joining me on this show tonight. I really do appreciate it. Yeah. I'm sorry to anybody whose questions I didn't get to. I'm sorry to anybody who wanted to be on this show longer and didn't have a chance to say everything they wanted to say. Just trying to do my best. But I do appreciate all of you coming out and supporting me, supporting these guys here. Check out their links in the description below. I'm going to be on Diesel's podcast here in a few minutes. So check that out in a second. Please click everybody's links. Subscribe.
Javier, give me a message and we'll debate again.
Yeah, if you ever want to talk to me, feel free to reach out. I'm on Twitter and my DMs are open, I think. Or
Yeah, I'm on Twitter as well at Javier270 Javier. No, it's Mr. JJ himself. So at
Okay.
Mr. JJ himself, y'all can find me.
I'll follow you. Okay, cool.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, thanks very much, Kaz.
thanks,
Kaz.
Leaving
You guys, I
the
really
podcast
appreciate
to
it.
go to another podcast.
I enjoyed this.
And
Kaz,
anytime you
one-
guys want to come back, come back.
Brent,
please.
Brent,
Cool.
Brent, after this call, I'm going to give you a quick call. Is that all right?
Yeah, it's great.
I appreciate it. I'm meeting you guys. Kaz, one thing before you go, my link in the description is not working.
Your link is not working? All right,
yeah, it's
send it to me right now. I'll fix it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you because people were saying it's not working, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
but I'm about to send it to you right now on Twitter if you want me to.
On Twitter? Okay.
Where would you like it?
Can you send it to me? You're using your phone? Is that easier?
Yeah, I'm using my phone.
Just send it to me on Twitter. I'll open it on Twitter right now.
Okay, I'm about to send it to you right now, and I appreciate it. It was very fun, and I wish I could be in your shoes just as the moderator. So much non-controversial.
Yeah. I mean, it's stressful, dog. I'm telling you, man, for real.
Yeah, my biggest fear is getting crushed in a debate one day.
I've gotten crushed. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because you know what? Whoever disagrees with you thinks that you got crushed no matter what you say. So just whatever.
I'm following you on Twitter. You are Fictionalist Network, right?
Yep, that's me.
Yeah, it won't let me send you a message though.
It won't let me send you a message? What?
Nah. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'll do it right here.
I'll follow you back real quick. Hold
on. Okay.
Where are There you are. There's you.
Okay.
All right. Follow. Yo. As soon as you send me that, I will update that. So yeah, thanks to everybody out there in the chat. If you're still there listening, I really do appreciate you coming out. Sideshow Nav, you're the best. You rock. Perpetually Annoyed and everybody else. Hannah Anderson, Mark Reed, all my other moderators. You guys are the best. I love you guys. You're the best. So
peace.
Keep seeking facts from truth. Keep seeking truth from facts, I should say. That's going to be my new catchphrase as soon as I get it memorized. So, good night. And yeah, that's
peace
it.
and glory.
That's not it. That's not my
That's
outro.
not it.